Today, today I just want to talk about play. Today I want to talk about why play really is the foundation for your school, for your home, and for your child and their brain. Not only is play fun, it really is best. And I'm going to show you what research says. So, to start, first I want to show you this. Bet you recognize this picture, what this is. Many people put screens in front of little kids. Many people try to teach them concepts this way. They're like, here you go. What is this? This is an apple. Well, a child sees this and they might get some of that concept. And the brain is trying to figure out, okay, how do I stash this away? How do I form that synapses to connect every time I see this, that that's going to be an apple? So is it an effective way to teach? It is a way to teach, but it is not the most effective way for the brain to receive that information. Again, the brain is trying to form these synapses at a young age because that's going to build the neuroplasticity of the brain and that's going to help that information stay for later. So instead of this to teach the concept, literally grab this to teach the concept. Wow, so much more you can tell about this item. The brain can really connect. Okay, what is this? If you're showing this to a child, what are the ways that they can experience this? They can smell it. This one smells delicious. The Honey Crisp. They can smell it. They can feel it. Right? They can feel the shape and the brain the whole time they're doing that. This brain is moving. The frontal cortex is building synapses. It is remembering this. It is diagramming and going, okay, when I see this, this is an apple. Every time I see this. And then so they're smelling it, they're holding it, they're tasting it. That's going to help them remember it. When they taste it, you heard the crunch. So they're going to hear it. So they're using smelling, tasting, touching, feeling. All of the senses are being used. So the brain has more chance of remembering that information, that concept, again, to build the brain, to build the foundation. So everything else you do with an apple, they're going to go back. The brain's going to go back and go, I know an apple. We learned an apple. We touched an apple. We smelled an apple. We tasted an apple. We heard an apple. I know an apple. Will the brain get the same concept here? I mean, it might, but it's going to have to work harder. It's going to have to work harder. One of my favorite things, I just finished a book called Improv Wisdom. Great book. Got recommended from a mom. It's a great book. You should listen to it. So the author, Patricia Matson, said, having fun loosens the brain, and a flexible mind works differently than a rigid mind. And I love that. That was great with the foundation of what we're doing here. Play. Man, that it's much more fun to taste the apple, to feel the apple, than to sit and listen to someone go, apple, this is apple. A is for apple. Much better chance of getting the concept when they get the real thing. So we're going to build everything on that today. We're going to talk about what is the benefit of using this type of thing. Here's the thing. This type of learning builds the brain in every area. Socially, when children are playing, and this would be play, right? When children are playing, socially, they're interacting more. They're getting to work on cooperative play. They're building interpersonal relationship skills. They're having disagreements over things. So you're helping them work that out. That's all done through play. So it builds their social skills. It builds their emotional skills because you know what? Their learning is emotional, it involves feelings. And so it helps them figure that out. Like, what am I feeling? How do I deal with that? It builds emotional skills. I feel passionately about that. It actually calms the body. It's a stress reliever. Play is a stress reliever. So if you have a child who's anxious, give them some play. Some sensory play is delightful. They might need some calm play. They might need an area in your home where they can go and take a breath, but that's also considered play. Give them some quiet things they can sit with. But in any way, brain actually is a stress reliever. So builds the emotional skills. And of course, cognitive skills. That's what we're going to talk about mostly this week is how it builds the brain and why it's beneficial for the brain. Because again, we're building a foundation. And if you skip the play portion, the brain has to work harder for the rest of their days. Like it is, So when we say that, those neurons are firing and those synapses are forming, you don't just use those synapses when you're playing, and you don't use that part of the frontal cortex when you're playing. You use that every day in all areas and decision making. Did you know if you want to build executive decision skills, making decision skills, the best type of play to do that is deep pretend play? Letting your kids getting there and dress up and pretend to be in role play and do all the things. That actually is so beneficial for later in life to help them make decisions. So don't skip the play. Mr. Rogers, if you are around me for very long, you will know that Mr. Rogers was my first crush. I still believe that Mr. Rogers understood children like very few people do. Mr. Rogers said, adults think play is the opposite of work, right? If we're not working, then we can play. But we can't play and work. But for children, play is the work. Play is the work. And I hope for as long as it can be, play is the work. It's how we find out so much about our children is through the play. So here are my key components to teaching through play. Number one, you've got to give children a chance to discover the information for themselves. Don't be vomiting everything to them. Hey, this is this. I mean, it's great to talk. That builds language, right? We want to tell them things. But even more importantly, let them discover things for themselves. I remember I was at a conference one time speaking, and we had a color mixing kit sitting out for children to explore. And a little girl came over and she actually noticed my necklace. I love turquoise. If you'll see that over and over. And she said, "Oh, I want to make that color." And I'm like, "Well, gosh, how do you think we make that color?" So we took the color mixing kit, and again, she began to explore mixing blue and yellow. And well, that made green, but didn't quite make turquoise. So she's like, "Well, what do I need to do?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I've got some clear water over here. I wonder if that would change in any way, or if you put a little more of this color. Keep trying." And so she just kept tinkering with the color mixing kit. And guess what? She made it. She pulled that up, she was dyeing water beads. She wanted to dye a water bead in the color too. And she pulled that bead up and she said, "I made it. I made turquoise. I made it." She discovered that for herself. And when children discover it for themselves, their brain's going to retain it so much stronger. So give them the opportunity to discover the information for themselves. Next, children need to experience it for themselves. We're so quick to say, "Oh, not now. Let me do that for you." But you guys, if you've had your babies, so many people told you how labor and delivery was going to go, didn't they? Was it just like they said? Or once you experienced it, you really understood it? I know I did. I know driving. Man, we've got every kind of map system out there. But if you drive it yourself, do you remember it more, or using your ways? Do you remember it more? I'm going to dare say when you drive it yourself. That's when you really grasp that information. When children are given the opportunity to experience it for themselves, this is why it's so important to teach concepts concretely. The brain is not ready to receive abstract information until around 7 to 9. Before that, as much as possible should be concrete. We shouldn't be talking about these huge abstract concepts or places. They really aren't going to get it. Like history should be the world around them, or their childhood, or their parents' childhood, something really directly related to them. So it's concrete. But you let them experience it for themselves. It's super important to give them that opportunity. That's why the kitchen is so great. So I'm in my kitchen today. Bring them in the kitchen. Let them cook with you. Let them measure. Let them scoop. Let them pour. All of that play is building synapses in the brain that they will retain because they're touching it and they're feeling it and they're experiencing it. Lastly, wonder. Man, children need a sense of wonder. Children don't often get that opportunity. They don't often get that opportunity to experience wonder in today's world. Why is that? For being honest, most of the time it's because we are so busy. Because wonder takes time to stop, to explore, to notice, to be still. You see a butterfly, your child wants to play chase the butterfly. We don't have time for that. Your child sees the rainbow hitting in the puddle and they want to jump in the puddle. We don't have time for that. Not every day, but often, and I'm guilty of it too. We're in such this busyness, this we must go, we must do the next thing, we have to get there and get here, that we don't take the time to stop and have wonder about what we see. But you guys, wonder. Wonder is the thing that stirs us. Wonder, I believe, is often what God uses to help children create their passions that then becomes their purpose. So you've got to give children time to have a sense of wonder about the world around them. Let them notice. Let them question. Encourage them to be curious. That curiosity is what's going to develop a critical thinker later. It's so important. Discovery, experience, wonder. I want to close with this. A couple of things I just want to point out to you. Remember, learning involves feelings. Let your children feel, have an opinion about this. Sometimes they're trying to tell you, I'm not ready. I need more sensory. Notice their behavior. Behavior is communication. If you have a child who's amped up, they need hands on. You've got to get them in the nitty gritty, touching it, feeling it. We're going to talk about that. I'm going to give you some great ideas, some of my favorites on Friday. So definitely watch that. Learning involves feelings. And then honor what is natural. Things happen, right? Things change. Be flexible enough to twist and turn and go a different direction. Honor what is natural. In our life, we've experienced a lot of things. And we've had to, I remember when we were adopting our boys from Guatemala. Guess what we had to do? I had to pack up and move to Guatemala to get these boys home. Do you think our learning looked different that year? Man, there were some feelings and there were some natural consequences. There were some things going on that we didn't plan. It definitely was not in my beginning of the year plan, but it happened. We're going to talk the rest of this week about play and the importance of play. I hope you're with me. Also, I've got a giveaway. You guys, I'm going to give away over $500 worth of materials, of books that I've written, of supplies. That includes a 1 hour coffee chat with me where we can talk about anything you want to talk about with your children. Listen, I don't know everything, but I have been homeschooling for almost 30 years, parenting for a really long time. And again, child development specialist. I want to help. It is my purpose. So I see we have a comment from sweet Jamie Spear. How are you, Jamie? Oh, I love that you guys remember that. I can't believe your girl's so big. I love that you did the snow and all of that. I miss seeing you. I'm glad you are here and so helpful when we first wrote the curriculum. It's good to see you. Hey, I hope if you didn't watch this live, you're catching it on replay. If you have questions or comments, you can always shoot me a message. Play Skillfully with Kathy Eggers on Facebook, Instagram, Play Skillfully on TikTok, all over the place, trying to talk about my passion for play. If you have no questions, join me tomorrow. Tell someone about it. Tomorrow, we're going to dive into the nitty gritty of a year of playing skillfully, what that looks like, how you use it in your home to help your children build a foundation with play. Thanks so much for being here.